Joining us now from San Francisco is Captain Chesley Sullenberger. Thanks for joining us.
Michelle, good to be with you.
Talk us through the motions of landing a plane in inclement weather.
Well, I've landed an airplane on that runway under similar conditions before, and it's very challenging. We have a methodical step-by-step process we go through to check the weather, the winds, the runway condition, the coefficient of friction. We use charts to make sure that we have enough runway length under those conditions to stop the airplane. But of course, it's a dynamic situation. So the NTSB investigators, of course, will be looking at every bit of information. They'll be looking at the airport operations, the snow clearing operations, air traffic control, the actions of the crew, and others.
Captain, I don't know if, I'm sure you've seen the picture of the plane as it's sort of dangling over that jetty. I'm just curious, did it bring back memories for you?
Well, I wish that we'd been on dry land. It would have been a lot easier for us during the rescue. I'm very grateful that in this case, apparently everyone survived with only a few injuries. And it's noteworthy that in any cause of the need for an evacuation, during any evacuation there are almost some injuries. It's very difficult to have no injuries. I'm sure the investigators will also be looking at the evacuation slides and other emergency equipment to see if it functioned properly or not and making recommendations going forward. But in a condition like this, where you have strong winds, you have lower visibility, heavy snow, it's very challenging. The conditions have to be just right, and if they're not, you have to abandon the approach and go around. We don't know if that was the case here, but it can be a very challenging situation in severe weather like this.
You've been in a high-pressure situation like this before. Certainly, we all know that, we all remember, but give us an idea here of what possibly went wrong.
Well, I've seen one report that the braking action on that particular runway was good at the preceding airplane's landing. So apparently conditions seem favorable, but not only must they be able to stop before the end, they must be able to have enough friction to prevent going off the side of a runway, particularly if there's a strong crosswind. So it's important that they land the airplane at the proper point on the runway with the flight path directly aligned with the runway direction. In other words, having allowed for the wind drift. They need to deploy the stopping devices, immediately make sure the ground spoilers pop up, which they automatically should do in this case. They begin braking and using reverse thrust and doing the best they can to steer the airplane. And at some point it appears that the coefficient of friction was not sufficient to keep them on the runway.
All right. Captain Chesley Sullenberger, we thank you for joining us.